So hello, everyone. My name is Ariana Shannon, and I am the marketing manager here at Sales Intel and today's moderator for this webinar. You guys are here for Sales Intel and Versium's event, the B2B2C Identity Graph, the future of B2B marketing and how it's going to play into the space. I know Manoj and Chris have a lot of great information for you guys and our today's speakers. Let me go ahead and jump to that slide. We've got our CEO, Manoj Ramnani, here for Sales Intel, and Chris Matty from Versium. So welcome to you both, and take it away.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I am excited to join Chris here on B2B2C. My name is Manoj, as Ariana mentioned, CEO, founder of Sales Intel. Chris, over to you.
Thanks, Manoj. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you today on this really exciting topic. Again, I'm Chris Matty, founder and chief revenue officer of Versium, and looking forward to sharing with you a little bit of insight on B2B2C identity graphing and how that is changing the ability for B2B marketers to really effectively build awareness campaigns out in the digital ecosystem in ways that have never really been possible before. So I think just from a quick agenda perspective, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the top of the funnel and some of the things you can do from a B2B standpoint, and how we got to this point in time in the B2B world where new doors are being opened to enable marketing using similar techniques that the B2C, the consumer marketing world, has done for a long time. And so the B2B marketers really had some dilemmas on that journey, and we're going to help show you how you can unlock and create new opportunities using marketing in the B2B world through multiple digital ecosystems. Next slide.
That's great. So, on the right, I put this funnel. I call this thing as a modern marketing funnel, right? Historically, and to all my surprise, even now, I talk to hundreds of our customers. Almost 95% of our customers are in the B2B space. We do have some customers that are in the B2C space, and I ask them, where does their top of the funnel start? And everybody's answer is, we start with email marketing. They get the list of email, and that's where their top of the funnel starts with the content. And my second question to them is, why not start with digital marketing, where you put the ads in front of your buyers? And I get two answers. One, which is a misconception, that it doesn't work. These constituents, they have just not tried. They just say it doesn't work. We have heard that B2B, Adtech, advertisement-based campaigns just don't work. And in the second category, some of them who have tried, they said, well, we tried, but the results were just not there, and they gave up too early, right? I'm here with Chris, who has done this thing for a long, long time. And I would love, Chris, for you to break this misconception that it doesn't work or it's not effective, right? Because I believe that it's a cost-effective way of getting the hand raisers. It's a cost-effective way to broaden your reach or even try your new markets. So Chris, we'd love to hear from you how we got to where we are and how the world has changed from, when this was only for B2C brands and B2C companies to now where even B2B companies are realizing huge value from putting digital ads in front of their decision makers.
Yep. Next slide. So let's go back in time a little bit. It's scary to think how long I've been involved in the internet, but when the internet first came out, the way advertisers targeted was the content on the pages. So people started publisher sites that had content about cars, and advertisers who wanted to reach people who wanted certain cars would advertise there. And so it was all content based upon the content on the particular site. And then along came the cookie, which enabled a whole nother opportunity for advertisers to extend that content beyond the site that they were looking at. Because what a cookie does is it tracks all of the browser activity for that particular browser. And so now when that person or a consumer goes to a site about cars or maybe trucks, there can be a cookie dropped. And now as that browser travels through the internet on any other site unrelated to, let's say, a truck, the advertiser can actually buy inventory against that cookie, against that browser for that traffic based upon an activity that occurred previously. So now that's why you see when you visit a particular site, retargeting because their cookie is dropped. Now you start seeing ads for the same content on other sites. And that was really an extension that really helped grow at internet advertising in the B2C consumer marketing world to extend the amount of inventory that could be used. But it didn't allow you to understand who the person really was. And so that's when the identity graph starts to evolve. And if you go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about that. And it all relates to what problems the B2B marketer has. So the ID graph is when a person registers on a website, and now that cookie is actually can be associated to a piece of identity data, for example, an email address. And so over the past decade or so, as the cookies were emerging and all these sites were bringing traffic into their environment, every time someone registers, logs in, you now have a cookie map to an email. And companies would then take these lists of emails and use what we call an identity graph to find additional contact points and to find additional data about the person. So you take C. Maddie at Versium or Christy Maddie at Yahoo that registers on that same truck site. Now, not only do we know that I'm looking for a truck, but somebody in the offline world could take my email and map it to demographic data and insights data about me. What's my age? What's my income level? Is there kids in the household? And now in the consumer marketing world, the ability to target based upon this offline characteristics was enabled using identity graphing. Next slide, please. Now, one problem that occurred is that when these emails and information is added into a login, you get bad data. Invariably, I know Manoj, we've worked together for quite some time. I know you know a lot about this. We've looked at your data extensively, and from our observation, I think you have the best data in the market when it comes to B2B. So I think you know a lot about bad data that's out there. So maybe I'll let you share a little bit about some of your experiences on this.
Sure, Chris. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. You know, we work hard to get our data to shine. Look, data decays. B2B data decays. Like you go no further. Just look at your address book on this phone, and you'll find over 30% of the data is out of date, right? And that problem just multiply by 100, by 1,000 when you look at that problem from the lens of a B2B marketeer, right? Your marketing automation system data is decaying, your CRM data is decaying, right? This is just a decay problem, not to mention the standardization, right? If you don't have the controls at the input gates of your CRM and marketing systems, the data is going to be, not standardized. Simple, like state. Do you have 2-letter abbreviation for the state, or you spell the state out, right? In the advertisement world, there are problems that are beyond even there, where you have fake identities or bots, right, that are just scheming and gaming the system. So I guess the crux of the problem with data is data decays. That's one big problem. This is such a hard problem to solve from the B2B side because people are changing jobs, especially in the current time that we are in. On the B2C area, data decays less frequently, right? People don't change their personal emails, but the standardization of the data and the fake identities are the real problems. That's why Chris and the team at Versium is working hard to stitch these components together to build the identity graph. Chris, I would love to see how you're stitching these components and what success are you getting and your clients are getting from this.
Yeah, just one last comment on bad data and going back to the example I gave where, think at scale when these websites are gathering all this information and gathering entity data, i.e. email, first name, last name, and address, with the goal of being able to find out more about those people through demographics. Well, if you've got a bad email or a bad address or an improperly formatted data, you can't find those additional attributes. So they're cleaning this data and having very robust identity data is very powerful to get that targeting. Go to the next slide, please. The B2B marketer now let's think back in time. Now there's all of this great targeting using identity data and emails and addresses that can be mapped to demographic and purchase interest and all these different segmented data that allows you to target people that have specific propensities. But the big problem here is that the B2B marketer has never been able to tap into that whole ecosystem. And the reason for that is that it was designed for marketing to consumers. Take LinkedIn as an example. even though it's a B2B networking site, 75% of LinkedIn profiles are mapped to a person's personal email address, not their business email, which means I log in with cdmatty@Yahoo, not cmatty@Versium. It's even worse in Facebook. And the same thing happens in the broader digital ecosystem in cookie targeting. So now, if you take a list of B2B IT decision makers that you acquired from Sales Intel, and you're going to launch your email campaign, and you're going to do an outbound BDR effort. If you want to create an awareness campaign on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or broader digital, those platforms will allow you to upload those emails to target just those people. The problem is that 75% of those people you're not going to reach because they don't have those emails, they have their personal email. And so that has caused a huge problem, going back to something you said earlier, Manoj. It doesn't work. Yeah. And the B2B marketer has tried Facebook, and they find 12 to 15% match rate. And they say, I can't spend my marketing budget and only reach 15% of my target audience. That's not going to build awareness in concert with my outbound selling effort. So they stopped doing it, those people who tried. But that's where the B2B2C identity graph changes all of that. Next slide, please.
This is very powerful. This is very powerful, Chris. So just to break it down for our audience, when someone targets Manoj at salesintel.io on LinkedIn, they don't find it because guess what? I did not sign up on LinkedIn with Manoj at salesintel.io, so there's no cookie matching.
That's correct.
But what Versium is doing is connecting Manoj at salesintel.io with Manoj at gmail.com, right? So now all of a sudden there's a match because, whether it's cookie in the free web or on LinkedIn and Facebook, my subscription is based on my personal email. So you can then connect those two identities to reach me.
Exactly right. And, there's been solutions that have come out in the market to try and help the B2B marketer, right? IP mapping, where if you want to do account-based marketing and you want to target all the people in the buying committee at a set of businesses, let's say you've got 1,000 companies you would like to sell to, and you want to build awareness to the users, the decision makers, the finance department, and you want to do account-based marketing. Well, some people have come out with IP and they say, okay, we can look at the IP and know who the people are. So you can actually do digital advertising targeting by IP. So if you can match the IP that those companies use, you can find some of those people. You can't filter by job title and function, but you can at least target the company. Similar things are being done with geofencing, where you use lat long on mobile devices and say, we're going to advertise to everybody around Microsoft campus, because you can geofence lat long and advertise that way. The problem is, especially in today's day and age with COVID and people working at home, you can't reach people. Those systems don't work anymore. And they were very rudimentary at best anyways. You couldn't filter by job function and title. If you're advertising to Alaska Airlines, how do you know whether you're advertising to a baggage claim worker or a marketing decision maker? And so those were some attempts to try and address it. But what the B2B2C identity graph does is it very simply put takes the consumer entity data or personal data, email addresses, cell phone, and physical address, all of which are data elements that these platforms will accept to target specific people. You can upload an email, an address, and a cell to Facebook at scale and target just those people. But normally that's been done for consumer marketing. If you have a B2B2C identity graph where you can take that list of 100,000 IT decision makers and their email addresses and use an identity graphing tech to layer on multiple personal email addresses, a physical address, a cell phone, what we do is we take that same list of 1,000 people and we add 5,000 additional contact points that are more consumer oriented. Now that B2B advertiser can reach 85 to 90% of that audience on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Google, and in broader digital through cookie targeting. And that is a game changer, because now that awareness building can help grease the sleds of the direct selling you're doing with Manoj's data, calling out on the phones and sending direct emails. In fact, we've seen that a cost per demonstration in a particular customer went from $350 per demo down to $235 if you can also build awareness in concert with your direct outreach. And that's what the B2B2C identity graph is enabling. Next slide. So when we think about beyond just the identity graph that allows you to put digital ads in front of your specific audience that you want to target, there's a multitude of other things that you can do with consumer-oriented data. You already get the firmographic data, so you know the companies you're targeting, you know their number of employees, their revenue. You can really work to find your ICP, your ideal customer profile, and focus on those in your selling activity. With consumer, you can also overlay things like demographics. So you know, maybe in your marketing creative, you might have a different creative for men versus female, or people at different age levels. And so understanding who the human is behind the decision maker in a B2B sale is also very, very effective. And so what our technology is doing is allowing people to get this added reach. Versium Reach is the product, allows you to reach these people in much more substantial way because of the consumer contact points we're able to associate to the business records. We also allow it to be formatted for each platform and allow a suite of demographics as well to be able to understand the nature of the people. And the key thing here is, instead of going to some other platform like Facebook and putting in filter criteria like you do in the consumer world, you actually upload the exact people you want to market to. And you can take that same audience or that list that we can help generate actually in concert with ourselves, Sales Intel and Versium. And you can take that same audience and you can put it up on LinkedIn, you can put it up on Facebook, you can put it up in broader digital. And now you're reinforcing your message to the specific exact people you want to target at your target companies. So it really is a game changer that is helping unlock new ways to accelerate revenues for those companies who are in the B2B world.
Chris, I have a question. As we are talking about B2B2C identity and putting the ads, a lot of us consume our media on these phones. Does your solution work on the phone as well? Or is it mostly on the web?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so we've talked a lot about email to help people understand that what we're really doing is saying, we can, with high confidence, assign a personal email to a business email. And I mentioned address, cell phone address. There's also mobile IDs. So we have nearly 1 billion mobile IDs that are also mapped into the same identity graph. And so not only are you looking at the platform, i.e. LinkedIn, Facebook, or broader digital through cookie mapping that you want to target your specific audience, but you can also target them across multiple devices. And that's where the mobile IDs come into play, because we have cell phones, we have tablets. And what a true identity graph does, which is very powerful, is it takes all of these different digital touch points that are associated to an individual and where they touch the digital ecosystem by device, by environment of social platform or websites, and puts it all together so that you can really target exactly who you want, and not only who you want, but characteristics about them that you can associate to those identity parameters.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next slide. I think that wraps up sort of the high level of what we wanted to share today in terms of how the B2B2C identity graphing is really unlocking opportunities for B2B marketers to work in concert with their selling agents, their BDR reps, to build awareness as you're going out to market. And that, as we all know, drives revenue. Manoj, I'll turn it back to you and Ariana as far as questions, and we'd love to dive deep, and I'm happy to answer any questions that are asked.
Absolutely, this is fascinating. To me, this is like, overcoming that misconception that B2B advertisement just doesn't work, and I truly believe that your top of the funnel has to start from before when you send out the emails, right? Create the awareness of your brand, get in front of the wider audience in a cost-effective way. And then the qualified hand raisers that come in, really engage with them, really give them the quality time and the resources and efforts that they need to bring the revenue that you need for your business.
Yep. I think we both were running small companies, starting companies. You go out and start selling your products and people don't know who you are. Awareness building is very important. And building out the brand, building out content that you put out in the digital world to bring in traffic that turns into highly qualified leads that your sales team can follow. It all feeds this top of the funnel. I'm seeing some questions coming in. Ariana, do you want to read the questions off?
Awesome. Yeah, let's go through that. So we've got a couple right now. The first one that we'll go to is, are you going to speak to skip tracing?
Skip tracing. Sure, I can speak a little bit to that. Skip tracing is a term used for, it goes back to bill collection, right, in the B2C world. And there's a lot of people that are trying to track down, or there's businesses that specialize in tracking down people that have skipped out on bills, for example. That's why it's called skip tracing. It's also a term just used to find people that are hard to find. Real estate agents use the term when they see a house that they'd like to contact the owner for a client. How do you reach the person? I know their address. And so with skip tracing, you're looking at other contact points to find the consumer based upon their history and activity. You start with an address and you say, oh, we have an address. Can we find an email associated with people in the household at that address? Oh, we've got an email. Now, can we find a cell phone? Can we find a historical address of where they lived in the past? And that's what identity graphing does, is it looks at all of these different identity data elements. And really what an identity element is a data element that allows you to contact a person, a phone, an email, an address. And if you can go back in time, you can start looking at, we have a 1.2 billion record address history file where people have lived, and now you can find additional contact points historically. And that's all in the spirit of helping identify and find people in the digital world or for other reasons for contact.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. We got a lot of questions coming in here, which is fantastic. I'll go to our next one. Given a list of companies and the titles of a target audience at those companies, is it possible through Versium to get the MD5 contact file?
So make sure I understood the question. So if we have, that's the contact file in the B2C world is where we would specialize in. Manoj at Sales Intel specializes in the B2B contact data. And that's kind of where we connect here. So if you start with a list of businesses, and let's say the titles or job function, let's say it's, I want marketing, IT, and finance director and hire. So now you've got that type of data that you can filter with Sales Intel's data. They've got very high quality data. And now you've identified the specific people at those businesses you want to target. And of course, you're getting the business data from Sales Intel, but we do have the ability to license or add additional consumer emails. Our system adds all that data, it encrypts it so that it can be uploaded into the different platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, all accept hashed data. So we do make that data available, that's right. And that's what allows the customer to take the same audience and put it into every environment and target just those people, because that data is delivered out to the customers. They effectively own that digital audience.
Just for everybody's benefit, the MD5 is just a sort of encryption. You know, both Versium and Sales Intel privacy is a key pillar for our companies. We don't hand out somebody's personal information right in the free text. So we encrypt, and all the other advertisement platforms, they also take the encrypted data. So MD5 is a type of encryption. Yeah,
that's right.
Awesome. All right, we'll keep going, which is a great lead into, we have a couple of questions about Versium and Sales Intel being leveraged together. So what is the process to connect this information together? And is this based on being able to integrate the two platforms somehow? So I'll let you two speak to that.
Manoj, you want to take the first stab at that one?
Sure. You know, Versium and Sales Intel is a long-standing partnership. At some point, we'll integrate these platforms. Today, there's no end-to-end integration that exists. You know, having said that, our IDs are matched. So if you're a Sales Intel customer, you can come in and identify your B2B target audience. You know, we have 40 different filters. You know, firmographic, technographic, intent data. You come in and build your B2B audience. You can send them an email or give that list to your STR team for the phone calls. But if you want to put the ads in front of them, we will let you export this data, which you then will go and import in Versium to get the consumer emails and the other attributes around it to put it in the digital ecosystem. So that's one way to start. Whereas if you're starting a journey from Versium, where you have already put the ads in front of your target audience, and you now want to call them or send them an email, then you bring those identities to us to say, here are the identities that have seen our ads. Now we need the emails and the phone numbers for that. We have an API level integration that is in works, but it's not live yet.
Yep, exactly. So our platform is also very accessible at an API level, whether we're pulling data in from other systems like a HubSpot, where we then do the enrichment and drop it back into a different platform. And so, yeah, we are discussing how we make this a more seamless solution just based on the benefits of the data working together. But right now, the way it works is the data can be uploaded directly into our system, Versium Reach. We give free trials for people who want to try it out. You can take that data that you get from Sales Intel, upload it right into our system. We do the B2B2C mapping and get the data right back. We can take the businesses and we can find additional people at those businesses using the B2C data. And we also do lookalike modeling. So all of that is done. And then the data comes back out into the customer. And so the integration via APIs is on the roadmap. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you both. We're now getting a couple of questions around LinkedIn. So we have two, and I'll go ahead and read those for you. Is it possible to connect a LinkedIn profile URL to an identity graph? And is LinkedIn a walled garden, or can these techniques be applied to target and retarget?
First answer is yes. You can absolutely map a LinkedIn profile to an additional identity data. We do that all the time, where we take in LinkedIn profiles and we find these same contact points that I mentioned. From a walled garden standpoint, the whole premise here is that it is not a walled garden in the following way. Because LinkedIn and Facebook allow the advertiser to upload a target list that they want to market to, by definition, since you own that list, you can take the same list and upload it into Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google. So that does allow you to target people in all three environments. Now, if you were to go just into Facebook and use their ad filtering system, you don't really know who you're targeting, right? You can go in and say, I want to target, and they're usually consumer parameters. I want to target high net worth people over 50, and because I've got a product in the B2C world. But you don't really know who you're targeting when you go that way. And in that sense, you are in the walled gardens. But if you use our data or our combined data, you actually can take that same exact list of people and target them across multiple platforms.
Awesome. And Manoj, anything to add to that before I move on?
No, Chris covered the points.
I know, I'm just listening, like, yeah, man, this is great. All right, so on that same note, does identity graph solution work more efficiently on one particular channel versus another?
That's a great question. It really comes down to the data. There certainly is segments of the consumer population that may be more challenging to get data about. Sort of the underbanked, for example, more transient population, young out of college. It's sometimes hard to find data on those people effectively. But the good news is, in the B2B world, that's not who you're targeting. So I think from when we look at sort of the data that people are getting from Sales Intel, the types of companies they're targeting, the job functions and titles, that data is very robust in terms of being able to find the parameters. But there are some verticals where maybe even that data may be small businesses, for example, might be more challenging. And so it really comes down to the data. But I think between both our two companies, we've got really, really sound and good coverage that it's yet to be a barrier, really. There are some niche companies that might want a specific audience that may be challenging, but generally speaking, we do a pretty good job.
Awesome. Next question. Can you provide some use cases for using mobile IDs?
Some use cases. Well, I mean, really, it's just about putting the ads in front of the people across different touch points. And so let's go back to a real life example. You've got a list of 50,000 IT decision makers, or maybe it's 10,000. We'll start with a focused group. And you've got this list of IT decision makers that are targets to buy your product. And you've gotten that from Sales Intel, and you filtered by IT decision makers and maybe finance people. So you want to build awareness across multiple points there. Once we do the B2B2C and we overlay a mobile ID as well, the same parameters can be uploaded into these environments. And so now when you go and you want to target, say, in broader digital, and you onboard that audience into whatever digital advertising platform is being used, and we can direct that audience to whichever platform is being used, Those mobile IDs are what allow an ad to appear on the browsing of those specific people across their different devices. So now those same 10,000 IT decision makers, whether you upload them into Facebook, LinkedIn, or if you onboard to mapping to cookies and then have that audience sent to whatever Adtech platform you're using, the mobile IDs is what increases the inventory for those same 10,000 people. Now the impressions go way up because now you can put ads on their tablet, on their mobile device, and their browser. And so that's really how the mobile ID is used to extend the inventory so that you can continue to build awareness and be, in front of your target audience across all their different touch points.
Right on. All right. A couple more questions. Oh, a lot of more questions. Awesome. Response to platforms. Are you making this available to DSPs for programmatic targeting?
Absolutely. So we talked a lot about Facebook and LinkedIn. They have their own platforms where you can upload the data. For those people in broader digital, whichever DSP or whichever platform where you are buying advertising or where you're deploying your advertising, we can take that same audience and through partnerships with companies like LiveRamp that onboard. And what they really do is they have the whole population of cookies mapped to, say, an email. So what we do is we take the same audience, we partner with them, they map it to the cookies, and they direct that audience to whichever DSP, whichever ad tech platform where the advertiser is looking to place their or do their spend. So the answer is yes, absolutely. It's a pretty seamless process from that perspective.
All right. What consumer demographic information do you provide? And can it be uploaded to Salesforce? I know from the Sales Intel side, absolutely. We have an awesome integration there. So I'll let you guys finish up on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, we focus on the demographics from the people side of things, not just firmographics like you guys have on the businesses and the skills, but things like age, kids in the household. There's about, our demographic data has about 450 different attributes at different fill rates for each one. Obviously, income level, things like that, age are 80–90% fill rates. And so we can map that data to the individual households and individuals within a system as well. So, and that data is available for export and download into whichever system the customer desires.
Awesome. Last question that I'm seeing. Can you put together a future webinar about using both Versium and Sales Intel together? Yes, absolutely.
Love to.
Yeah, myself and Chris and Manoj and other members from the Versium team, we can definitely come up with something that's more tactical if that's going to be much more applicable to you all. And we've had a couple of questions pop up about pricing. I did not know if you guys wanted to jump into those or not, or if you just wanted to handle those in the recaps as they came through.
Let's handle the pricing questions one-on-one. We'll definitely reach out to you before the day is over here regarding pricing, whether it's Versium, Sales Intel, or the combination.
Yeah, I figured as much. Everyone has a specific use case, so trying to speak to everything broadly can get a little bit confusing. Oh, Chris, you're breaking up on us. Are you there?
Oop, broke up a little bit there.
All right. Is that all the questions? It's everyone that I saw come through. Fantastic. Thanks everyone so much for joining. Thank you, Manoj and Chris, for being on this webinar with us. If you guys want to reach out to them directly, there are their email addresses. You can shoot them a quick email, or you can also just wait for those recaps to come through by tomorrow. Remember, you will have access to both the deck and this recording. And any other questions that you have, just pop those in directly to reply to that email, and we'll get you taken care of from there.
Awesome. Thanks everyone.
Awesome.
Thanks, Ariana. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Manoj.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ariana.
Yeah.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.